Joined the department. He's been the secretary for DPIIT. We have had a lot of interaction with him as Assocham over there. But we are very happy that he is with us this morning, afternoon, and अनुराग जी, एसोचैम की जो membership है, it's a very diverse membership, and obviously we have many sectors in which we are very strong, and there are many sectors in which we are developing our strength. But this community is possibly the strongest that we have. So the contractor, the construction, and the contribution of this highly engaged membership is very, very positive. And as you will get to meet most of the members, you will find that the contributions of this group have been very, very significant. सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ क्या है कि ये वो लोग हैं सब जिन्हें कहाँ पे जूता चुभ रहा है. What are the pain points and what are the solutions to find time-bound, cost-effective, without compromising quality? How can we make those improvements? So this group of people have an annual congregation. Obviously, they meet on a very regular basis around the year, and we keep engaging with the department. But this specific group has had this meeting for 2 days. This is the culmination of that second day. So what we have deliberated on these 2 days, and obviously Ashutosh ji and the others on the dais with you will also be sharing some of their thoughts. It's largely on the challenges that one is facing. Obviously challenges तो हर बार नए आ जाते हैं, पुराने solve करते तो नए आ जाते हैं, तो उसके innovative solutions निकालने हैं. So there are some things that they do emerge and they discuss, and obviously there are areas around engineering design, post-construction maintenance, digitalization, and obviously how sustainably we can produce product and services. Gadkari ji kal hamare saath the. He's a very engaged minister, probably the most engaged minister with us because of this sector, and like I said that बहुत contribution रहा है इस group का इस पूरे इसमें, and obviously under the leadership of the minister and the officials. And before I close, I just wanted to bring one major success जो कि एक इन सब लोगों को जाना चाहिए, and the government has obviously done, is कि जो जोजिला tunnel बनी थी sir, and I'm sure you've heard about it. We worked 1 year with the department sir, and we were able to create a solution जो पहले बन नहीं पा रहा था. And we as a group, when I say this, the government, the political side, the administrative side, the functional side, and the construction, contracting, and the consulting side, was able to find a solution which officially saved 5,000 crores. And I'm sure this is not the end of the usage of the solution, but this is the number of tunnels that will get constructed in this country are going to be humongous. So the solutions are very action-oriented, and therefore a huge congratulations to the department and the government for actively involving and taking those suggestions and implementing those, and continuously keep engaging with the set of people and group. And yesterday जब meeting हुई थी, then before I close, out of वो मैं बात करने लगा, there were quite a few suggestions that came through, sir. I'm sure we will share a note with you with complete substantiation of everything, that why we say what we say, and we'll walk it with you to find an answer that when we put it to implementation also. There were 2 things which really struck me was, we don't have maps on this country for logistics. Because you coming from DPIIT, so मेरे को suddenly ये चीज़ दिमाग में आ रही है कि हम गाड़ियों के लिए, 2 व्हीलर्स के लिए एक alternate mapping system है, but for logistics, trucks movement के लिए, there are no maps. How does a truck know which route is the best for me? So if something can be worked on this area, which digitizes maps, existing data, it could actually be a very big game changer for enhancing the logistic movement of the product. And there will be so many logistic companies who will be wanting to use this service. So this is an idea for the industry, but also for the government to think through. And the second thing which came out was very, very beautiful, was how do we reduce noise? अब गडकरी जी के साथ बात हुई तो उन्होंने बोला कि हमने नोएडा, सॉरी ये एक आप ये बनाया जो, हाँ वो दिल्ली मेरठ वाले में लगाया था, तो जो बैरियर्स थे उसके साथ में बूम बैरियर जो थे, सॉरी जो क्रैश बैरियर थे उसके बाजू में दे पुट पैनल्स लगाए थे, सोलर पैनल्स. ऑब्वियसली चैलेंजेस हमारे यहाँ से चोरी हो जाते हैं, बट कैन वी फाइंड अ सोल्यूशन वेयर वी हैव पावर generated on a bridge or any other places or elevated place, generate energy, cost आपकी of lighting the place is gone, and yet there is a noise barrier that comes through. So iska bhi ek, these are two very very thought-provoking ideas that for me, which really worked yesterday. So I thought that I'll spell that out for you. And thank you very much. Once again, a very, very warm welcome to you. And over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request Shri Ashutosh Chandwar, Chairman, National Council on Underground Construction and Tunneling, to please come over stage and address us. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. So we had a 2 days program wherein we discussed what are the pain points of the industry, and also not only discussing the pain points but trying to find out the solutions and how can we make our country better, can save the cost and also without compromising the quality and time. So I remember when we started tunnel construction in 2008-9, the big tunnel construction when we started in India, the time period given for the tunnel construction was 5 years, 6 years. So today we are constructing a long tunnel, maybe 3.5 kilometer, 4 kilometer tunnel. The time period has reduced to 2 years, sorry. So it means we have come a long way by learning how to optimize the excavation methodology and also get reduced the time. So that's on part of time. With regards to costing, sir, we started with almost 100 crore, 150 crore rupees per kilometer. 150 crore per kilometer. And now today we are somewhere in Himalaya around 70 crore rupees per kilometer, or even in the down south, we are having even 17 lakh rupees per kilometer to 18 lakhs rupees per kilometer. Earlier we were constructing only bi-directional tunnel in India, but now we are constructing unidirectional and twin tube. Chenani Nashri was one such project which gave a lot of lessons. We learned a lot of lessons from that project, and based on that and based on the experience we had in Rohtang tunnel and Kazigund Banial, these three were the long tunnel at the time which were in progress. We came out with some suggestions to ministry. Ministry accepted some suggestions. Some were not incorporated at that time, but it was the demand. And based on those suggestions, particularly risk sharing metrics, the government included that risk sharing metrics first time in Jojila tunnel. And that Jojila tunnel, according to the government estimates, were invited 4 times, the bids were invited, cancelled or awarded or cancelled, whatever, that has taken the process. But finally the cost came down to 5,500 crore, which was a saving of nearly 5,000 crore to exchequer. So that kind of suggestions, if we are in the second stage of those suggestions, this was further after Jojila, these modifications were included in the subsequent contracts of all the tunnels by ministry, and I'm sure that has not been calculated, but the amount is something in use which has been saved on account of that. So basically what happens, we are working in tunnel in the dark. We do not know what kind of strata we are going to encounter. We do physical analysis, geophysical, geotechnical, geological analysis, but that does not end up 100% correctness because we have a heterogeneous mass available there. So in those circumstances, generally before 2017-18, or rather before 2020, there was only a line written in the contract agreement that concessionaire will, or the contractor will own the 100% risk for constructing the tunnel. You have to connect X to Y. It's 4.5 kilometers. This is the alignment. Forget about all other risk which is to be taken up. It was all risk was to be taken up by the contractor. So the contractor was having a mentality to upload all the risk in his contract. What we requested at the time that please make the geological baseline report which suggests that according to your DPR, this is going to be the rock class in the entire stretch. So if you find any change in that rock class above or below, it was given or taken from the contractor. If you encounter a better rock class, then ultimately the government will be benefited. If it is a poorer rock class, the benefit will pass on to the, or not benefit, the cost will be reimbursed to the contractor. So that GBR, geological baseline report, was included. At that time, sir, one thing that was missed was the time cost. The time cost was not included at that time as a part of the contract. In fact, what happens, sir, if you are designing in a certain class and you got suddenly a much poorer class, then your tunneling excavation cost or the rate of progress reduces substantially. Cost you are definitely reimbursing, the government is reimbursing cost part, but the time part still has not been accounted. And since the tunnel requires a lot of mobilization, so cost of mobilization is far more important than the cost of material that is to be used. Right now we are getting the reimbursement for material part. So that overstay part is not included. That we request you to look into that matter, wherein if we can add a component for various rock class change, both positive as well as negative, just like the table that has been created in Article 17, Article 16 or Article 13 of the HAM or EPC contract. Similar table for the timeline can also be included, and it can be easily determined, because in class 1 you require a pool up to 3.5 meter or 4 meter at one time, whereas if you go for a soil class you can get maximum 0.5 meter per day progress. So that's the it's a available data which has to be put into a table so that a rational timeline or extension of time or reduction in time can be achieved. Similarly, sir, when tunnels are constructed, at present there is a shortfall that we decide the highway alignment first and then we go for a decision about the tunnel. Sir, our request is, tunnel is an exclusive structure, sir. It all depends on how much is the, always a good tunnel is when you are passing below the ridge of the hill. Now, if you are constructing a tunnel where Nala is coming, where a lot of disturbances are there, geological disturbances, a lot of hill cutting is there, then you unnecessarily incurring the cost, and also it's not going to guarantee you for a very long time that this tunnel will remain safe. So, tunnel alignment should be fixed first, then we should fix the highway alignment. Right now what's happening is highway alignments are fixed and then subsequently tunnels are added. So that's the second part. Time cost, as I said, if it is taken care, the another impact, sir, is EGO, extraordinary geological conditions. Sometime in tunnels, sir, the water flow will be very high, or extraordinary geological condition there. Now, extraordinary geological condition, there is no provision in the contract at present, in any of the contract, how to deal with the extraordinary geological condition or geotechnical conditions. So we request that, and actually the solution lies also in insurance, but in insurance it becomes more difficult to justify that this is an extraordinary geological condition. The insurer used to avoid the claim, insurers gives a lot of arguments. So that that's the another area where an insurer also intervene, but either the insurance company has to be brought in to define, if authority or authority engineer defines that this is the extraordinary geological condition, then it can be mitigated. So similar is we do not have the tunnel specific contractor right now contract. We have a EPC contract wherein the same EPC model contract is used for tunnel. So if a dedicated EPC contract for tunnel is made, or the changes in the current EPC contract for suiting the tunnel is made, I think that will help in saving that. And last but not least, the decision of portal. We have a different set of condition at the portal beginning and end of the tunnel. So that still, it is unclear that the portal locations that has been taken in tender and actually that is observed has not been compensated, and contractor end up making lot of money cost there. And sir, 90% of the tunnel failures are related to portal failures, and portal is the most ignored thing from both point of view. Portal means the start point when we stabilize from where we are entering into tunnel is the location, and we give the least importance to that, and that causes the maximum failure. So request is that if similar cost is made for portal also similar model, then it will be good. Another thing is, sir, GBR has been accepted as part of the contract, but there is a disclaimer clause which is continuing. That disclaimer clause has not been modified. So there is a confusion at the lower level whether they have to use the disclaimer under Article 8 or Article 6 as the case may be, or we should go ahead with the change in rock class that is to be compensated. That's the thing. Sir, this is all for the contract side. I'll request my colleague to just present about the consultant side. Vinod Shukla.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I'll be talking about the consultancy contract. Before I start, sir, there is a filling on the both sides because it's a issue where the planning of the project starts. There is a highly dissatisfaction on the government side that the DPR's quality is not good. There is equal dissatisfaction on the consulting side. That they are having issues to deliver it. There will be moles, there will be problems in that. But what is critical here is that there is a problem and we are not able to address that problem. We tried to convert it into a PMC. We tried to put a lot of penalties. We tried to fix a lot of responsibilities. It has not given result. So like the tunnels contracts in the construction, there is a requirement to relook at it because neither the government is satisfied, neither the industry is satisfied. So, and we have to find a way media. So there are certain issues like evaluation criteria, there are weightages given to certain things which are just accounting for 1% like equipment and all. There are also grievances from the government side that the quality of it is not well. So both has to be addressed and it has to be resolved. So this is one thing we are looking at redrafting. Second is the penalty charges. Now in project management consultancies, now the role has gone for 10 years. Any company to have a zero attrition rate and to keep a person for 10 years is not viable. So it's not that it should not be there, but it has to be looked from both the perspective, that how he holds with all these labor laws and everything, how he holds. Apart from that, there is an issue on international experts. In international experts, when we go to developed countries, we are not taken as team leaders. We are taken as this. We feel that in India also, de facto, the Indians are doing the team leaders' work, and we appoint experts as team leaders. So we suggest that we should require expertise. We should take expertise. We are not against the expertise, but the team leader position should never be given to an expat. It should be an Indian position, and we should not unnecessarily. It also leads to increase in cost of the consultancy. One more thing we are looking at is standardization of project parameters. In tunnels, lot of equipments lot of equipments are put in which are costing very high. And in case we standardize from design point of view, that can be huge saving. Huge means huge saving. And it requires to be done. The last point here is in the consulting contract is design approvals. There is no benchmark for approvals. Now in PMC tenders, we do the DPR, the construction comes, and supervision also is done by the constructor. You will find that a lot of designs are not, the contractor will start constructing, but they will not approve the design. So the timelines for design approval should be very clear, or it should be mandated that after so many period of time, if you're not approving it, it is deemed approved. There are some other things, sir, which we had raised with the Honorable Minister even during like, we wanted a central repository of documents to be made. I'll give an example. There is one tunnel in JNK, I don't want to name it, sir. Maybe Chandwar sir may just tell you. The whole tunnel has been done, a unidirectional single tube tunnel has been done. Now we are going for a double tube tunnel there. And all the data of geologic which is already done, okay, we are still going for a new DPR, we are going for new investigation, we are going for new. So what I want to tell is that there is requirement of depository to come down on a platform which can be shared. There are certain things which are not very security concern, has a lot of security concern. They should be shared. If you interact with the fraternity of, education, you go to IITs and all, you will find that all research students are not having data where they can work on. And resulting of this is we are not able to develop our own softwares and our own things in our own country, and we have to look for data outside the country and try to modify things. And with things changing to AI, I'll request that we look into this issue. We had raised this issue before also. We have a panel of experts which has been made at the ministry level. We also wanted to identify few technologies which are going to be very productive for us. Like we are now there on United Nations Development Goal. Like for example, mug dumping. We talk about dumping the mug. We don't talk about reusing the mug. Or even if we are talking about reusing the work, we are talking about reusing the work in the roads or in that level. Maybe the same material can be reused inside the tunnel, but nobody is going to cost it. So I'm not saying that we spend a lot, but 1 or 2 research projects, maybe with educational institutes or this, should be catered for where we are trying to use certain sustainability goals and try to develop that. The contractors are interested, but they are worried also. And need not be spending a lot of money. We may spend a very small amount, maybe a few 100 meters or 200 meters of tunnel and try it. That also is possible. There is one issue, sir, which is very prominent and which can, with a very small decisions, we can save a lot of money. The electrical and mechanical work, that is the ventilation of tunnel and electrical portion of tunnel, we have no proper guidelines, and you will be surprised that world over, we are generally designing tunnels for 50 megawatt. And in India, we have questions for 200 megawatt. Okay, one example I will give you is even of Chenani Nashri. You know, Chenani Nashri, we are not allowing, I don't know what is the latest position, we are not allowing military convoys to move in, because we feel, even the oil tankers we are not allowing to move in, because we feel that the fire which will be generated by them will be 200 megawatt and all those things. So this thought has just come from a group of people who are probably not aware of this. And that is the reason either vehicles are not moving or people are asking to design for 200 megawatt. Now, E&M cost of a tunnel will vary from somewhere around 18, 19, 20% to around 23, 24%.
We never had a fire in India.
We never had. Even if you look at research paper world over, you will find that there have been no collapses because of tunnel. There have been distortion in the area, but there has been no like the whole thing has fallen down like a building or something. It did not happen. And even if it has happened at certain places, those are metro underground stations, which are almost like buildings inside underground. So we are suggesting that we straight away, this E&M also takes you into life cycle concept where you are spending a lot in maintaining this, because you have to pay for your electricity, you have to pay for maintenance of this, and we are talking about 100. So we are suggesting that for our smaller length of tunnel, we should only go for 30 megawatt, And for longer tunnels, maybe we design it like 2 kilometers plus or something like that, we go for 50 megawatt. And we come out of with this concept which is being talked about 200 megawatt. Because of that, even the civil linings are increasing. Lastly, additional point, sir, is make in India. There are technologies, sir. Things are transforming very fast, and we are like even the last session there was a lot of talk that we require a lot of additives, and most of the additives are not made in India. We require that things should be identified which we are not manufacturing in India, in this key areas which we want Indians to be manufactured. And if somebody is manufacturing that, maybe certain amount of incentives should be put in for those people, maybe for some block years, may not be for all the time. Apart from that, sir, we are very strongly advocating that the thing should go for digitalization, for what I already spoke, sir, that the data is available, the data is going to be the fuel of the future. So like ONDC or something, we can make a platform where this data is available, which is not having a security requirement, and that can be happen. Lastly, operational cost refinement, sir, like E&M, operational cost refinement requires to be looked at, because we cannot be building assets for constructing assets in 3 years or 4 years and then working on that for 120 years and spending our money. There's a huge amount of cost which is going as a nation for that. So these are the points which we wanted to highlight. We have been putting it. Now I'll hand it over to Mr. Neeraj Gupta. Sir, please.
Good afternoon, sir. I'll be putting some submission in front of you, sir, which is on behalf of the road sector. And this is the submission from the industry, because we have done a survey and then this submission has come, which we want to put to your kind notice so that we have some positive decisions from you. So first is we are making a lot of roads. Once the road is complete, then we see there are design safety issues. Like for example, there are some formation of black spots on the road. So we want to request, then once we do the DPR, at the DPR stage, the safety audit should be done of the DPR, so that in case there are any black spots or there are any issues in the design, they are incorporating at the DPR stage. This will help that there are no issues later on. This is our submission, sir. The second, sir, in the new BOT contracts, already authority has included a clause that every 5 years, as per the traffic on the road, they will revisit. We want to request the same clause should be added for TOT as well as the old BOT projects also. If this is added, sir, it will give a comfort to the concessionaire or the bidder, and we strongly feel the authority will be able to get a better price for that, because he can estimate better. Similarly, sir, there are a lot of brownfield projects for which we are going from 4 lane to 6 lanes. And there is already toll on the 4 lane traffic going on. Sir, we strongly feel because traffic and revenue is feasible and it is known, so there is no point in awarding these contracts on HAM or EPC basis. Because the data is known, traffic is known, it's better all these things should go on BOT basis, which will help the authority also. So a lot of disinvestment is happening in the highways, in which new partners are coming and they are overtaking the equity. For doing this change, there are 2 steps. When a new partner comes in and the equity has to be transferred on his name, there are 2 steps on it. One is the security clearance from the incoming funds. This is number 1. And second is the check if there is any negative impact on the public policy because of them entering into it. So what is happening from last 2 years, a lot of investments are coming in, but even after these 2 parameters are satisfied, there is a requirement that we need to take a permission from NHAI for this equity change. This permission is taking a lot of time, sir. So we want to request NHI to smoothen the process so that more and more fresh capital can come into the country with the ease and the time duration is reduced. Sir, in POT projects, we are doing the valuation, which is initial estimated concession value on the basis of the traffic studies which are conducted by the consultant appointed by the NHI. What is happening is, in lot of instances, there are diversions or network improvement of the alternate routes which are going on. So they are missed out. If they are missed out, then the calculation of the toll which is given to NHI and which forms the basis of the NHI expectation on the cost, on the price what they should get, becomes heavy. So the valuation of the project becomes a challenge. So we want to request that a diversion analysis should be included in the traffic consultant scope, and it should be a part of the bid. When we do the reserve price estimation, if traffic or diversion is built in for both the parties, like it is done for BOT project, it will help. It will help a lot for the people who are bidding for it. Similarly, sir, we want to request that WPI and GDP assumption should be standardized by NHI. The most important thing is, sir, the reverse price estimation should be done on the equity cash flow, not on the projected cash flow. So what we are saying is, it should be equity discounting instead of WACC discounting, weighted average capital cost. That is what the request of the industry is. Sir, we know, when the RFP is out, at that stage, sir, if detailed design, project specification, and other relevant information are specifically done in that, so it will help the bidders to quote, and it will give a clarity, sir. Similarly, sir, it is a recommendation if the DPRs are not more than 6 months old, it will help, because if DPRs are very old, lot of things changes, sir. Sir, the percentage of O&M payment in a HAM project is very less. The government has freed the thing, but the real, the cost is very high. Like for example, for a bituminous project, the payable O&M is 11.5% for 12 years, for 15 years, whereas the actual cost is around 25%. So we request authority to really look into it, sir. Similarly, sir, the process of awarding the contract is a L1 basis. So we want to request the authority, it should be quality and cost-based selection. So there should be a weightage for quality and the cost, so that the bidders are considered both on technical and financial aspects. This will help, sir, in selecting the best bidder and on the sources of both quality and price, and the project will be done in time and quality, sir. Sir, we all know that use of fly ash and pond ash is essential for use in the project for the environment-friendly nature. And if we have a thermal plant within 300 kilometers on the vicinity of the project, we need to use it. But sir, what is happening is, there have been a lot of delays from NTPCs and other plants in getting the pond ash, which is delaying the project, sir. So we want to request that concession should not be penalized for that, and there should be a time. Similarly, sir, nowadays, lot of thermal agencies, thermal plants are not giving the transportation cost. So this is a decision between the two government departments on which concessionaire is suffering. So we want to request if that can be looked into. Similarly, sir, there has been a lot of clarification which has come on the GST for the HAM projects. And we are thankful to the authority. A lot of clarifications have come in, and a lot of work has been done by the authority on this. But sir, what is happening is, in a HAM project, we get 40% and 60% come with the NOT. But GST authorities are raising the claim for fine along with interest, because what they say is that the moment you are doing a milestone bill, you have to pay the GST for the full amount. Whereas we as the concessionaire are going as per the advice of NHI. So they have raised the notices for penalty and interest. So we want to request if that can be looked into it, and it will be great helpful. Thank you very much, sir.
So Neeraj, I'm sure we will be submitting this detailed thing to
Yeah, yeah.
the secretary. So may I request, Haji, may I request the secretary to please address us and share his thoughts and views. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for sharing the thoughts. Deepak ji, Ashutosh ji, Vinod Shukla ji, Neeraj Gupta ji, and all the esteemed participants. Initially, I was very hesitant because it's not even 3 weeks since I took over. And normal assumption is the day you sit on the chair, you are expected to be expert. It's a learning phase for me for a new sector. So I said, what would I speak? What's the point going for sort of valedictory speech? So but then I was told that you would be submitting the recommendations of the 2-day workshop. So then I said, okay, I am willing to come and listen to the presentations because that will help me in my learning phase. And lot of good learning from listening to what you have said. And that only one point I can make on your presentation instead of going point by point. Obviously, nothing is going to be decided here and now. Those of you who know me from my previous jobs know that one thing is that I treat the industry as our partners. We are all contributing to the Vision India 2047 as the government or Honorable Prime Minister has put it. Otherwise, we are all contributing to the progress of the nation. I think Honorable Prime Minister has used this phrase many times when every Indian takes one step, 1.4 billion steps get taken. So we are all part of Team India. And industry is a very crucial partner. The country can't progress without the support of the industry. If you look at since I've worked for a long time in the finance sector also, many of the points which you brought out, conceptually it is risk sharing. It's but obvious if the risk is loaded onto the contractor, the initial cost of the project will go high. If there's a proper risk sharing, it will be. So we have to go into the nitty-gritty. The real devil lies in the details. Conceptually, I think there is absolute clarity, at least in my mind, and if there's a difficulty in the department, it's my job to convince my colleagues. Conceptually, de-risking a project is the most important part of creating a project. But unfortunately, if the risk is not properly shared, the costing will be higher. The gist of many of your suggestions was that. Tunneling is as you said, the point like expect being a team leader is a compulsion. So this is something which as a country we should never accept this. My personal take would be a person who has the capacity, why should we talk about, is it part of the contract that expect has to be?
Yes, yeah, some of them, yeah, many of them.
This is something which is ridiculous. Why we are one of the best in the world right now. We are talking about what our young generation is doing. As part of DPIT, that was used to be my major focus. What India is doing now, India is going to be the story of this world for the next 25 years. So how can we accept a condition that only expert can be? Okay, we should have proper experts. If we don't have expert, if a particular contractor does not have an expert, we can think in terms of hiring an outside expert. We can be enabler. Another issue is in certain cases rather we were not allowing outsiders because of certain concerns. We all understand we have certain concerns from some of the countries. So those things also need to be taken care of. So I hope that we'll continue the dialogue. It's a very good document you have given. We'll get it examined. We'll engage more with the industry and see how together we can make a better system which will help the country progress faster. Some of the issues I think Vinodji brought it out while talking about the consultancy that government is dissatisfied. You would have heard Minister's statement yesterday. So if that is the genesis, but I can tell you, in my first meeting of the SFC, I did not approve the project. In some cases where the RC was to be, because my questions were not answered because they are not part of the DPR, the basic questions. In some of the revised cost estimations which had come, the mistakes were so glaring that apart from, of course, it's like a fait accompli, that the whole project has been completed, the cost has gone up. So you have to accept that. But the key point I asked, and probably for the first time it would have happened, I don't know whether it has happened in earlier period or not. In both the cases, I have instructed to give a show cause to the DPR consultant also. Because there were glaring mistakes. A town which existed for last 10 years, the land compensation was taken as zero. Only the land compensation was taken, not the compensation for the structures. So how can that kind of a DPR can happen? Of course, the key answer will lie that how do we make our system better? You talked about QCBS even in the contract, the construction contract, but in the DPR we have QCBS system. But I am told that QCBS is a sham because almost everybody gets full marks. So it becomes L1. That is one of the problems. So how do we do the rating? The real challenge is, it is very easy to say as a concept that we should have QCBS. But the real challenge in defining the parameters which will rightly determine the quality of a consultant or quality of a contractor. If I bring in QCBS in the construction part, how do you define? So that is a point which we need to engage. We need to discuss and debate and then come out with it. If we can come out with an acceptable formula, I for one have been believing right from almost day one of my job in the government that a rule which is not correct, if a practice which is not correct should be changed immediately. Instead of doing it on case-to-case basis, which is not the right way to move forward in public policy. If we find that something is wrong, we should immediately change the rule or the law so that everyone is equally benefited. So this is the way normally I would like to work. So the point is we'll have to engage more. We all know that infrastructure is very important part of our Vision 2047. We all know, I don't need to repeat that in the last 4 years we have increased our allocation by 3 times, and the kind of infrastructure push which the government has never been there before. But what is more important, I'm sure many of you would have heard me talking about this concept. We have come out with the PM Gati Shakti concept. How many of you have heard PM Gati Shakti and know about it? If you know, please raise your hand. There's no point wasting time. Maybe about 30%, 25%. So I'll just briefly touch the outline so that there are no repetition for the people who are there. But the PM Gati Shakti is basically, unfortunately I couldn't open it to the private sector because of the security concerns, but there is work going on. How do we, there's a committee which is looking at it. What access do we give it to the private sector? Neeraj ji talked about, I am forgetting, there was a mention of creating a platform for data. It's a huge data. PM Gati Shakti data is something which cannot be matched by any country in the world, I can say with reasonable guarantee. When the network planning group looks at a project, certain suggestions which have come, you will wonder. A particular railway line was shifted because underneath you had a rare earth material. So it was said that if you create a railway line here, and when you want to do the mining of the rare earth material, you'll have to shift the railway line. Why don't you shift it by 500 meters? You have all that data. You have all those layers. We have got almost 1595 or 1600 layers which are there. It gives you a wealth of data. You can have a 3D visibility. You have the soil classifications. You have underground geology. So all that is there. Now the key point is how do we make it available to our consultants? That will really greatly improve the quality of the DPR, and we need to ensure that this secrecy part, so certain data fields have to be removed when we give access to the private people. So that is a work which is going on. There is a committee under Mr. R.S. Sharma, which all of us know, great mind in the country. They are looking at it, and once finally they come out with the recommendation, government will take a decision. But what is happening is, because of the PM Gati Shakti approach, the expenditure is much more efficient. Like you talked about tunnel. I know when the first time when we developed the concept of PM Gati Shakti and it was launched, the day I was talking, the example I gave was, if road wants to develop a tunnel, a typical costing is say 6,000 crore. Railway wants to do a tunnel, it will cost 6,000 crore. If you do it together, it will cost you only 8,000 crore, you'll save 4,000 crore for the country. So it's a coordination, lot of issues happen. A typical problem which came to me yesterday only, which we resolved. The two departments, this is a 5 years, 6 years old problem. Our project has already commenced, 30% construction has taken place. Railway has also issued notification for acquisition of that land for their own railway line. Both departments did not know about each other. So now there is a fight. So finally the solution was, I mean, lot of meetings had been done by my predecessor. Broadly the things were more or less agreed, okay, railway will change their alignment a little. So yesterday the real problem was cost sharing. I said, आप खर्चा करो, मैं खर्चा करूँ, सरकार की जेब से जा रहा है ना, मैंने अपनी जेब से देना है ना, आपने अपनी जेब से कर. 50-50 करो, खत्म करो. There is no debate. If we get into the logic, both of us will fight, continue to fight. So whatever is the difference, just the two experts on the both sides sit together, work out a cost. 50% मैं bear करूँगा, 50% आप bear करो, खत्म कर दो. So this is what happens. Now in PM Gati Shakti, that hopefully will never happen again, because at the planning stage you will know not only your project, you will know all other projects which are coming. So this will be much more efficient. 2-3 broad things which I would like to share my thoughts on is, first is sustainability. Sustainability is a big issue. The world over, it's a big issue. What India has done, I'm sure all of you would know what Honorable Prime Minister said in Glasgow, and we made a Panchamrit, our 5 commitments to the world. And for the first time, we agreed to a net zero target, and we said, okay, by 2070 we'll do. But what is more important, the remaining 4 things. What we committed in a short period of time by 2030. What our industry, our country has done, the NDC which was made earlier has been achieved 9 years ahead of schedule. And we have changed our target very aggressively to 500 gigawatt, 50% of energy, etc. Railway is going to be net zero. Cement industry has already come out, as I remember, almost about 75% of the cement is now moved away from ordinary portlet cement, either the slug cement or the PSC. Steel has also started working towards, the green steel is one part, and other things to move to ensure their carbon utilization, like a scrap policy. So these things are the kind of things you need to move towards. But the key point is, can we change the game completely? The real revolution comes, real transformation comes when you change the game completely. You don't use steel and cement anymore. You come out with new material. Right now we don't know. So, but our research should continue towards that side. I am sure every few years you come out with something which is fundamentally different, which changes the game. I mean, one thing which we came out, which now the whole world is talking about, when we did Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and mobile. Now the world is talking about it. What is the basic difference? Everything was open, everything was a closed loop architecture before that. This what it did when we did UPI as part of Jan Dhan, we made it open loop. Now going by the same concept, you mentioned ONDC, that's why I recalled that. ONDC is the next game changer which is coming out of India. Hopefully it will get launched within a couple of months. It's already matured, the technology is absolutely proven. In the beta phase almost, if I recall correctly, about 35,000 transactions are taking place per day with no hiccup of the technology part. Only thing we wanted to reach about 50,000 to 1 lakh figure before we get it launched formally. ONDC will transform, this will be the talk of the world after a couple of years, because the whole world is facing the problem of oligopolies of these big companies. So that's the right kind of solution. So I'm sure our young brains, our young generation, and the experience put together can always find out solutions which are much more futuristic. We are not simply aping the West or the developed countries. As a country, we have already mainstreamed sustainability into our development agenda. Now the key point is we have our huge scale. That brings it its own benefit. The costing or the pricing goes down substantially. If you remember the LED case, the price used to be 400 rupees. So it used to appear a huge subsidy game. And our efforts were limited by the subsidy which the government was providing. And obviously government could provide only a limited amount of resource. So a limited amount of transition was happening. We removed the subsidy, aggregated the demand, price came crashing down to 40 rupees. That is the economies of scale. So something similar, we have to think in those terms. So like that was a very good suggestion is the standardization of tunneling equipment. So every time, I'm sure right now, whatever little experience I have had as, I remember my days as Secretary to Chief Minister, when certain tunnel projects had come, the person says, okay, now I've got the contract, I'll go and get the machinery. I'll order a bespoke machinery. That was a real problem. So if you have, that's a very good suggestion. So we have to sit across with the other counterparts, other manufacturers, and see if the standardized tunnel equipments can come, our speed can further come down. That itself is impressive. You talked about from 5-6 years to 2 years, and the cost, did you really mention it? 17 lakh rupees per kilometer.
17 lakh rupees per.
From 70 crore to?
70 crore rupees per
Kilometer to?
Kilometer to 70 crore, 17 crore rupees.
Okay, 17. Sorry, I may have misheard. I heard it is 17 lakh. I said it's a ridiculous figure. Huh? Okay. Still, it's a huge reduction, substantial drop. So it is invariably the new technology brings in reduction of cost, brings in efficiency, and that is the real gain. So we have to invest in the new technologies. We have to invest in the sustainability aspect. Then you can be the leader. Now you have to tell us as a government what we can do. You have to be a business leader. You have to beat your competition. So you have to invest in research, sustainability, etc., etc. What as a government we can do? We can only create a facilitation mechanism. A collaborative mechanism is one aspect, and other aspect is our tender should permit. What I was told, because our minister is very pro new technology, in my first formal call-on meeting, he said that one of the reasons is we don't allow any changes in the DPR even if a person wants to come with a new technology. So I think you please include that also. How do we enable it without being, so if a person comes out with a new technology, and if the outcome is same, as I used to be Secretary IT for some time, my basic philosophy was, our tender should be technology neutral. How do I know what are the technologies happening in the world? And especially the software part and the computer technology is changing so fast that if your knowledge is maybe 1 year old or 2 years old, you are outdated. So I used to say, okay, I'll just give the outcomes what I want, and the best solution the person will provide. If he has come out with a better solution, why should I insist that I want this particular solution? So can we build that into our tenders? Will it help? Or because here the change is relatively more gradual, maybe that's not required, but still how do we encourage our ecosystem to get into the research for sustainability, research for new technology, and how do we integrate? Because nowadays everything is a cross-learning. Gone are the days when a particular expert could be the real expert. So it has to be group working. I personally feel when as a system in India we look at, and what the Western developed countries did earlier and their basic practices, they are extremely good in group working. And we are individually brilliant, but we are not that good as group working. But nowadays, given the complexity of the development, technology and the development, we have to willy-nilly start working as a group. So that is something which we need to look at, and I'm sure that our dialogue will continue, and mutually will benefit, and finally we'll be able to help build a better India for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. You spare the time for us, and we will take care. We'll continue with the dialogue, and so we request you for the lunch, sir, if you can see.
Thank you so much for everyone for joining us, to all the panelists.